Good afternoon. I'm Sandy Lancaster with Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, and I have with me Sam Tan, also of DFW International Airport Environmental Affairs. We're going to show you how you can learn more about how aircraft come in and out of DFW Airport and how you can get to a really cool website where you can actually see aircraft coming in and out of the airport. So if you start with dfwairport.com, which is our home page for the airport, and then you navigate over here right next to the DFW logo. On this drop down, pick the Business and Community tab. And when you click on that, then you can scroll down a bit. What you're looking for is aircraft noise. And right there is a quick link. So you can click right on that quick link and it takes you to our noise page. Now there's a lot of good information on this page and I encourage you to go look at it at your convenience. But right now we're going to focus on a flight tracking website that we have. So if you click right here under DFW Airport Noise Info where it says View Now, that actually takes you to a different website. This is called Noise Lab. But what's really cool is the airplanes that you see in that little map, that's actually what's happening right now. And the website will tell you all sorts of information about what the weather is, what runways are being used, kind of news going on around the airport. Again, you can look at this at your convenience. There's a lot of really great information, including some statistics, some frequently asked questions, just really good information. But we're going to focus right now on what's called the Live Flight Tracker, and that's this tab right here. So if you click on that tab, then it will take you to actually what is going on right now at the airport. Now we've changed this up just a little bit because we want to give you a little orientation about the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. So I don't know if you've ever flown out of DFW Airport, but if you did, you would come into one of our terminal facilities, which are here in the center of the airport. So the terminals being right in this area along here. Now on the west side of the airport, so north is up on our map, we have 3 runways on the west side. So this runway is runway 18 left, 36 right. This is the one that's primarily used for departures. So you leave your terminal and you get right to your runway and away you go on your trip. This runway here, it's also oriented north and south. This is 18 right, 36 left, and mostly is used for landing aircraft. And then this runway out here is used for landings and periodically departures. So on the east side of the airport over here, we actually have 4 runways. So again, we have 2 north-south runways. So if you left your terminal and went out to this runway called 17 right, 35 left, this is primarily a departure runway. This middle runway we call 17 center or 35 center is mostly arrivals. This runway way out here called 17 left, 35 right. And then we have this runway over here that we land on in certain conditions, but we don't take off. And you can kind of see why taking off on this runway might not be a good idea, especially if these runways were in use. So the way aircraft operate at the airport, and really any airport for that matter, is they take off and land into the wind. So if you ever saw a compass, if you were pointed south, it would say 180. If you were pointed north, it would say 360. So that's why if you were taking off on this runway, it would say, because you're basically pointed due south, 180. If we were in north wind conditions, you would go down to this end of the runway to take off. And when the airplane's lined up and ready to take off, your compass would say 360. So that's kind of how runways are named. Now we have the 18s and 36s on the west side, and we have the 17 35s on the east side. Really, those runways are parallel. It's just so we have a way of naming them so as the pilots are coming in and out, they understand where they need to be. So we don't have any runways on here or any aircraft on here right now. So first we're going to zoom out and orient you a little bit as to where DFW is in the Metroplex. And then we'll turn on those airplanes in just a few minutes. So regardless of where you live, so here's Dallas, here's Fort Worth, and Dallas-Fort Worth Airport is kind of the same distance between downtown Fort Worth as it is from downtown Dallas. But downtown or Dallas and Fort Worth, which own our airport, aren't around the airport. It's other cities. But we're looking way out right now. So way up here is Denton. Goodness, this is the Oklahoma-Texas border up here. This is the Red River. So we're looking way, way out. But if you think of our Dallas-Fort Worth area that we live in as a box, the arriving aircraft come in at the corners of the box. So we have several corners. So we have a corner up here, and these are about 60 miles away from DFW Airport. So Bowie, Bonham, this is the northeast corner post. Down here at the southeast, we have Cedar Creek Reservoir. So that's the southeast corner post. And then way over here at Glen Rose, we have the southwest corner post. So airplanes, as they're coming into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, are always going to come in at the corners of the box. So if you were coming in from, say, New York City, you would likely come in and enter the airspace at this corner. If you were, say, coming back from a great vacation out in Disneyland out in California, you would probably come in this corner. So if the arriving aircraft come in at the corners of the box, the departures go out the middle of the box. So they go out north, south, east, and west. So we're going to turn on the airplanes right now so you can kind of see what is going on right now. Today is March 23rd, and it's just a little before 12 noon. So we're using our settings here to turn on the airplanes. So these are the planes that are actually in the aircraft, in the airspace right now in our area. And then we also turned on some little things here. These are our noise monitors. So those are actually listening to the sound that's occurring all the time from the airplanes, from cars driving by, lawnmowers, anything like that. So we can understand of the total sound in the community, how much of that is related to aircraft versus how much are other normal things that you might experience in your community. So we're going to zoom in just a little bit here so you can get a better view of what's going on. And we use our zoom controls over here. So you see an aircraft that's coming into DFW Airport right now. So aircraft take off and land into the wind. And this particular day, Tuesday, March 23rd, the winds were out of the south. So the winds are blowing from the south to the north, and the aircraft want to take off and land into the wind. So these aircraft are landing, but they're actually coming in from the north of the airport to come in to land. And then aircraft taking off will go this way, and then they'll make their turns. So, and you see the aircraft have different colors. So this aircraft, it's blue, that means it's a departure. And this aircraft that's landing is kind of a reddish color. That means it's landing. So there's not a whole lot going on at the airport right at this very moment. So we're actually going to go back. Let's look at yesterday. And then we can pick any time we want to. So we're going to click on the little clock over here. And then we're going to pick our date. So today's Tuesday, we're going to go back to Monday. So we're going to go back to yesterday and yes, relive Monday again. And then we're going to pick the time. So we're going to try and pick a little busier time at DFW Airport. And so what we're doing here is just kind of using our clock just to go back in time. So we're going to pick about the 5 o'clock hour of yesterday, Monday, the 22nd. And we click apply, and the computer will go back and it'll find what was going on yesterday at 5 o'clock. Now you might notice up here, this date and time up here at the top just changed to Monday, and it changed to 5 o'clock. Well, now we see a little bit different story. So this is a busy time at the airport. In fact, it's so busy. So aircraft are coming in this corner post over here, and look at them lining up. So they're going straight west so they can get in line to come in to land. So this aircraft are landing on one of our runways on the east side. you see another group lining up over here. So these are landing on runway 17 left, and these are lining up for runway 17 center. And then we also have aircraft taking off, and they're taking off on both the east and the west sides. So remember we talked about aircraft coming in at the corner post? Well, here they are. They're coming in over this, what we call Cedar Creek. This is the southeast corner post. You see an aircraft coming here on the southwest corner post. We've got the ones up here we already talked about. I don't see any coming in at this corner post just yet. But so what happens is as they come in, for example, you just got back from your Disneyland vacation, you're coming back from California, you would come in this corner post, and then because the winds are out of the south and you need to come in to the north end of the airport to land, they're going to fly you next to the aircraft, and then you're going to come up here and you're going to have to turn around. So we're doing a 180-degree turn to come in to land at the airport. But some aircraft come in, so these guys came in the southeast side, but their terminal that they're going to need to be at is on the west side. So they cross over. These are what we call over the tops, and then they're making their way in to land at one of our runways on the west side. So FAA is pretty good. Actually, they're excellent about separating aircraft and making sure aircraft operate safely. Now, this aircraft here is actually coming into, this airport's called Alliance Airport in Fort Worth. So he's a pretty big aircraft. He's coming into Alliance, so not DFW. We've got Love Field over here. So these flights actually took off out of Love Field. And then we've got smaller airports around Addison up here, mostly smaller aircraft. Meacham over here in Fort Worth. So there's a lot of little airports around. So you might see planes flying around. They're not going to DFW. They're going other places. So let's zoom in just a little bit, get a little closer view of what's going on. Look at this big old line of airplanes coming into land. It's a busy day at the airport. Got a lot landing here. Now, I will tell you that this runway on the west side that we normally use for landing right now is closed for construction. So we're having to fix it because it's old and it gets pounded by a lot of aircraft. So that's why you don't see a lot of traffic in this area. So aircraft are taking off on the west side. They're taking off on the east side. These are the blue planes while aircraft are landing. So they're landing here, here, and then also on this diagonal runway right here. So we got 3 airplanes, 3 runways being used for landings, 2 runways being used for takeoffs. So this is what a Southflow configuration look like. So we can click on any one of those aircraft, and Sam, I'll let you do that. So pick an aircraft, and when you click on it, then you get all sorts of information about the flight. So this is a 737-800. It's an American Airlines flight. This particular aircraft, let's see, where is he going? So we can kind of click on this. So it shows that, he's actually landing. So he came in from Detroit and he's coming to DFW Airport. And then if we keep clicking, it tells us a little more detail about the aircraft and tells us a little bit more about the airline. So you can click on any one of the flights here on this map and get that same information. So there's a Airbus A321, also operated by American. What's this big guy landing 17 left? You click on him, Sam. He looks like kind of a big aircraft. There you go. Oh, he's a UPS. He's an MD-11. Now, an MD-11's a pretty big aircraft. And this one's all cargo. It's being used by UPS. And UPS came in from Louisville, Kentucky. That's their main hub. But they also have a hub here at DFW Airport. So look at all that cool information you can get just by clicking on any one of these flights. Now you also notice we've got all these little noise monitors. And so as aircraft fly over the noise monitors, they hear that plane. And so sometimes you see the colors changing, you see the numbers get bigger as the plane flies over. Some of these aircraft are pretty quiet, so they don't really make a lot of change. Others are a little louder, so sometimes it depends on the aircraft as to whether you'll see the big change in the noise monitor or not. So we focused on arrivals, and right now it looks like we got 3 aircraft landing at the same time. And then we have our departures here. So departures go out, and for example, you've got an aircraft going out here. He's turning at 5 miles, but there's other aircraft here, and they're turning down here. And part of the reason is if you have aircraft on parallel tracks, FAA has to keep 3 miles between those aircraft. But in this case, you know, we've only got the 1 departure runway, and so they're able to vector them a little bit differently. So what if the winds were out of the north? What would that look like? So let's go back in time, and we preloaded this. So this is March 19th. So now you see the dates change. So, and this particular day, the winds were out of the north. So now the aircraft are landing from south to north, and they're taking off from south to north. So there's a departure right there. A couple of them here. There's one coming out of Love Field. So we're going to put these into motion. And we're actually going to speed them up a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on. You can see those noise monitors reacting as planes flying over. Look at that one, 70 decibels is not that loud. So if you and a friend were sitting about 3 feet apart and having a conversation, that would be about 65 decibels. So if an airplane flew over, and let's say the airplane was 75 decibels, that's only 10 difference. That doesn't sound like that's much, but to your ears, it would sound like it was twice as loud. So can we zoom out just a little bit, Sam, as we've got these flying fast so we can get a view of these patterns. So remember we said the departing aircraft go out the sides of the box. So they're all headed, they're headed out. These are the ones that are generally eastbound. We've got some that are westbound over here. And then every now and then you might see an aircraft, he takes off and he just disappears off the map because he was bound for someplace to the north. Or you'll see him take off and then they do a big turn to go out to the south. So they generally, if you're, for example, going to the east, they'll generally depart you on the east side. If you're going to the west, they'll depart you on the west side. But you see quite a few landings. So now that we're in Southflow, or I'm sorry, Northflow, so now the planes are landing. It's the same runways we used before, we're just landing at the other end. And then also landings on this runway right here. This is called 31 right. You see these aircraft coming into the corners. Remember, we talked about that. And then because they got to go around to the other end of the airport, they're going to parallel the airport on what's called a downwind. They're going to turn around and then you'll see them coming into land. And again, we can click on any of these flights and get information like we did before. So let's say that on the 19th, let's say you went hiking with your family and you were at the Louisville Lake Environmental Learning Center and you saw this really super cool aircraft. And so you wanted to find out what that was. Now we've already put that on the map, but let's show you how to do that. So you go over here to the left, you click on the little house, and then you put in whatever address or whatever it was that you were looking for. And then it would be in a drop down. You can pick from the drop down, and then it would put your little target right there on the map. So let's say you went hiking with your family, and while you were there, you saw this really big aircraft. He was super cool, but he was pretty big. And you wanted to figure out, well, what was that aircraft? So right now it's about 512. So we'll speed him up. The alternative is you could go back to the little clock and change the time, but we're just going to speed them up a little bit. And so we're looking for an aircraft that took off maybe around 5:15, 5:20 that might have gone up into that area so that you can see what that was. Oh, so let's see. So we're almost at 5:20. I see a big aircraft taking off right here. Maybe it's him. Now, what is that? Well, this flight is, the airline is called Qatar. This is a 777-200 long range. So this plane can fly a long way, and chances are they're going they're going international. Qatar is an international flight. So you can see by the little tag that this is a short version of saying 777-200. Look at his altitude. So this aircraft took off, so he's climbing. And as he's coming over the lake, he's climbing pretty good and he's speeding up. So as he's taking off, he's both climbing and accelerating. And here he is, it's about 5:21, and there he is right over the lake. So why don't we pause right there for just a moment. So let's say we figured out that was the airplane that we were looking for. Let's say somebody had actually called and they didn't like the noise, and so they were complaining. Well, what DFW does, we don't control the flights, and I mean, this plane is flying exactly normal. So really what we would be doing is helping that person understand where they are in relation to the flight. And one of the ways that we do this, you can see over here on the left, is what's called point of closest approach. So this is where our observer is, in this case at the Louisville Environmental Learning Area. So the aircraft was about 2 miles diagonally from that position. So the aircraft was almost 8,500 feet, but you can kind of get a notion of how close it was to that point of observation. So that's part of what we do is, we just help people understand where they are in relation to flights. But it's really good to hear from the community because it helps us kind of understand, what community sensitivities might be. But anyway, so we've got a really busy airport here, and that's how we would investigate how a flight came in. So you can actually go to this website anytime you want. You can look at what's going on at the immediate moment. Now it's going to be a 10-minute delay. So if you went right now, you saw a plane fly over your house and you go to this website, you're not going to see it right away because there is a little bit of a delay. Right now, according to our clocks, it's about 10-minute difference. So just bear in mind, as you go to this website, there is that bit of a delay. So it's near live, but you can navigate to this anytime. You can go back and look at historical information to look at flights that occurred in previous days. You can put your house on the map and find out what flew over your house. So this is a really powerful tool. And we encourage you to go look at this to learn more about how aircraft come in and out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, not just DFW flights, but other aircraft that are in the airspace. And it's amazing how many aircraft are in the air at any one time. It's the very busy airspace. In fact, right now, DFW is the second busiest airport in the U.S. So that's a pretty cool fact. So that concludes our tutorial. We hope this is helpful. And we have some other information in our Earth Day. If you look for aircraft noise, you'll find a lot more information about planes at DFW. And then we're also available for questions. So if you have questions, you can, the other videos will show how to get a hold of us, or you can always email DFW Airport and they'll get your questions to us. So I hope this was helpful, and I thank you for your attention.
Did you enjoy that video? Are you interested in learning more? Use our Ask a Scientist feature to email us questions, and we'll get back with you with an answer. Thank you for watching.